My fence was my pride, and Karen was its apocalypse. 3 times this month, her Jeep's grill kissed my cedar planks like a drunk at a dive bar. I'm no saint, but when you spend 6 months building a fence to keep your sanctuary safe, only for Karen to treat it like her personal demolition derby, you snap. This wasn't just about wood, it was war. It started innocently enough. Karen, my neighbor of 6 months, had a habit of reversing her Jeep like she was auditioning for a monster truck rally. The first time she clipped my fence, she left a dent and a note. Oops, my bad, Karen. No apology. No offer to fix it. Just a post-it and a smirk when I waved her down. The second time, she took out a whole panel. Claiming her brakes failed, I fixed it myself, swallowing the $200 cost, thinking she'd learn. Spoiler, she didn't. By the third hit, I was done playing nice. My fence wasn't just a boundary, it was my late dad's design. The last thing we built together before cancer took him. Every plank was a memory. Every nail a promise to keep our home safe. Karen's Jeep, with its oversized tires and live, laugh, love bumper sticker, was desecrating it. I stood in my yard, staring at the fresh gouges, and felt my blood boil. Enough was enough. I spent that night scheming. Karen wasn't just careless, she was entitled. The kind of person who'd demand a manager over a cold latte. I needed something that screamed, stay away, without landing me in court. Paint was my first weapon. I bought 5 gallons of the cheapest, brightest red I could find, think clown nose, at a rave. I rigged a contraption above the fence, motion-activated buckets tied to a pulley system. If her Jeep got close, it'd get a crimson bath. But I didn't stop there. I'd seen those viral poppet traps online, firecracker-like snaps that scare without harm. I ordered a dozen, buried them in the dirt strip where her tires always skidded, and waited. The next morning, Karen's Jeep roared to life at 7 a.m. Sharp, like she was late for a speak to the manager convention. I watched from my porch, coffee in hand, as she threw it into reverse. The Jeep lurched, tires screeching, and bam, hit the fence. The buckets tipped, dousing her hood in a glorious red wave. Pop, pop, pop. The traps went off like a mini fireworks show, and Karen screamed like she'd seen a ghost. Her Jeep stalled, paint dripping, as she stumbled out, mascara running, yelling. Who did this? I strolled over, calm as a monk. Karen, you keep ramming my fence. Now your Jeep's got a new look. Her face went purple. She sputtered about lawsuits, vandalism, and disrespecting her property. The irony was thicker than the paint. Neighbors peeked out, some snickering, others filming. Karen stormed off, vowing revenge. I thought I'd won. I was wrong. She came back that afternoon with a tow truck and a cop, Officer Daniels, a tired guy who clearly didn't want to be there. Listened as Karen ranted about malicious sabotage. I showed him the fence, 3 crashes, 3 repair bills. No apology. I admitted to the paint and traps, emphasizing they were on my property, non-damaging, and meant to deter. Daniel sighed, told Karen to stop hitting my fence, and warned me to dismantle the traps. No charges. But the look in Karen's eyes said this wasn't over. That night, I couldn't sleep. Karen's entitlement wasn't just annoying, it was a violation. My fence wasn't just wood, it was my dad's legacy, my home's shield. I'd spent years healing from his loss, building a life here with my wife, Mia, and our dog, Scout. Karen was unraveling that. I doubled down. I reinforced the fence with steel brackets and set up a cheap security camera. If she wanted war, I'd be ready. 2 days later, she struck. At dawn, her Jeep roared straight at the fence, not in reverse but deliberate, like a battering ram. The impact shook the ground. My camera caught it all, Karen, wild-eyed, flooring the gas. The steel held, but 2 panels cracked, and her Jeep's front crumpled. Paint buckets dumped again, this time splattering her windshield. The poppets snapped, and she swerved. Lodging her Jeep in the fence, she climbed out, screaming. You'll pay for this, neighbors gathered. Phones out, as Mia called the cops. This was the climax. Karen had escalated from careless to unhinged, and I wasn't backing down. Daniels arrived, shaking his head. Karen, you can't just ram his property. She claimed I'd booby-trapped her, but the camera footage shut her up. It showed her deliberate attack, the Jeep's grill smashing my dad's fence. Daniels cuffed her for property damage, and the tow truck hauled her Jeep away, still dripping red. But victory felt hollow. The fence was wrecked again, and Mia was shaken. She's not worth this, Mia said, her voice soft but firm. Your dad wouldn't want you fighting like this. She was right. I'd let Karen's chaos pull me into a spiral of vengeance. I'd protected the fence but lost sight of why it mattered: peace, family, home. I dismantled the traps and poured the last of the paint down the drain. The next day, I filed a civil claim for the fence repairs, $1 $200 plus court fees. Karen didn't show at the hearing. She'd moved out, her house listed for sale. Word was she'd racked up fines and couldn't face the neighbors' stares. I won the case by default, but the money never came. Her Jeep, impounded and paint-stained, sat in a lot somewhere, a monument to her hubris. The fence stands again, rebuilt with Mia's help. It's stronger now, but every new plank reminds me of what I almost lost. Karen's rampage wasn't just about a fence, it was a lesson in letting go. I'd fought for my dad's memory, but I'd nearly become the chaos I despised. As Scout naps in the yard and Mia waters her garden, I realized the real victory wasn't the paint or the traps. It was choosing peace over pride, even when it stung. Months passed, and the neighborhood exhaled. Karen's house sold to a quiet couple who waved when they saw us. The fence, now a patchwork of old and new planks, stood as a testament to survival. But the scars lingered not just in the wood, but in me. I'd check the security camera obsessively, half expecting her Jeep to roar back. Mia noticed, her gentle nudges pulling me from the edge. She's gone, she'd say, squeezing my hand. Let her go. One evening, a kid from down the street, maybe 16, knocked on our door. He held a crumpled envelope, his eyes darting nervously. Found this in her old mailbox, he mumbled, handing it over. Inside was a letter from Karen, scrawled in jagged handwriting. No apology, just venom. You think you won, but I'll always be the victim. I laughed, bitter and short, even in defeat. She clung to her narrative. I tossed the letter in the trash, but it gnawed at me. Her chaos had left a shadow. I started therapy, unpacking the rage Karen had ignited. My dad's fence wasn't just a boundary, it was my armor against loss. Karen's attacks felt personal, like she was tearing him away again. Talking helped, so did rebuilding. Mia and I hosted a barbecue, inviting neighbors who'd watch the saga unfold. They brought stories: Karen's tantrums at HOA meetings, her complaints about noisy kids. We laughed, the tension dissolving under string lights and burgers. The fence, lit by lanterns, felt like ours again. One neighbor, Tom, a retired carpenter, offered to carve a plaque for the fence, something to mark the victory, he said. We settled on resilience, etched into cedar, nailed where Karen's Jeep last struck. It wasn't about her, it was about us. The plaque gleamed in the sun, a quiet reminder that we'd outlasted her storm. But the real closure came unexpectedly. A local news blog picked up the story, dubbing it the fence fiasco. Comments poured in, some cheering my paint and poppet defense, others debating property rights. One commenter, anonymous, wrote I was Karen's sister. She's struggling, but she's gone for good. It humanized her, just a fraction. Karen wasn't a villain, just a mess, like all of us. I didn't forgive her, but I let go of the hate. Now, the fence is more than Dad's legacy. It's a story of standing firm, then learning to bend. Life's too short for grudges, too precious for wars over wood. If your own Karen is testing you, don't just fight, build something stronger. Share your story. We're tougher together.